Okay, let's get started. Like we discussed last week, this session and next session are going to be a little bit different. Okay, so if you brought your laptop, please make sure to take them out now, start booting them up, open JGrasp. We're going to do hands-on, okay, review. In the meantime, last time I gave you some slides about the logistics of the final exam. I told you I would take the time to go over them in class. So I hope you took a look at them. If not, I'm going to go over them real quick at the beginning of the class. This is your opportunity to ask any question that you have about the logistic regarding the final. And then after this, remind me to discuss a little bit about IE9, because I heard already some feedback about IE9 that it was not, something that went very well. So I'm going to try to take like the temperature of the room here afterward. And the TAs have started already grading it, so we should have some data on this really soon. So the logistic, I'm going to try to just skim through this and go to the essential. Please at any time jump in with a question, okay? This is the last time we are going to discuss the final exams logistic. So this is your chance to ask about any detail that doesn't make 100% sense. So I got questions in the past about where is the final syllabus. The syllabus section in Canvas is where you are going to be able to click on the link for the final to take it. It doesn't have a module of its own. We are going to have a set day, a set time, a set location. So yes, this is on campus, face to face. And yes, you have to bring your laptop to take it via Canvas. Okay. We still do the same format than IE, but you have unfortunately to come to campus face to face. I tried to get us out of this constraint, but that was not possible. Duration is 2 hours. This is a standard time. SDS accommodation, if you have any SDS accommodation going on right now, I took care of them during the semester. But for the final exam, you cannot just take the exam in this room and then stay, an extra amount of time after, because there's going to be another final exam schedule in the room right after us. So what you need to do is you need to look with your SAS agent. You need to schedule actually some time with the testing center so that you can have a room for yourself with proctoring, for whatever duration you need. Okay. But make sure to stay on top of that. If you wait for the last minute, generally this is where we have problems. They run out of room and stuff like that. I already mentioned bring your laptop, make sure it's charged. So here's the deal. We cannot plug everybody into the 3 miserable outlets that we're going to find in the room. So everybody bring your laptop, okay? Make sure it's charged the day before. Make sure that your battery can hold a charge for, I would say, 2.5 hours just to be safe, okay? If you have any logistic problem with laptops and stuff like that, contact me. Some of you already did, okay? Thank you for that. Don't wait for the last minute, contact me. There is a laptop loan program at the library here. I really strongly suggest that you bring an extension cord if you suspect that you will have to plug at some time. Bottom line is, as long as only 1 or 2 students, or maybe like 5 total, out of 113 need to be plugged in, we can work it out. We'll relocate you near a plug and stuff like that. If there is like 20 or 30 students that say, well, my laptop battery is dying, well, this is lack of due diligence. Okay, it's not a problem with the laptop battery. You knew that it was going to die. You didn't prepare correctly for the final exam. That's part of preparing for the exam. Okay, I really want to stress that because I don't want anybody to lose point or to get unnecessary stress during the exam because of something like that. Okay, so if you have any doubt that this is going to go smoothly for you, please contact me, work with me, send me a Canvas message. If you borrow a laptop, that sounds stupid, but if you borrow a laptop, make sure that it can accommodate JGrasp and everything that you need. Okay, yes, you have the question?
Should I schedule the final exam, like I have extra time? Would it be in the same room, or because it doesn't really show what room you're supposed to be in?
So it doesn't show on Canvas what room we are supposed to be in because we get that information generally at the last minute. The room is here on the slide, ENA 105. If you do schedule for SDS or SAS accommodation a separate room, then they will work with you and give you a different room, okay? But you will be either in a small group or by yourself in that room. Yes?
Do we run the Proctoring software during the exam?
Yes, we do.
My laptop runs really hot with the Proctoring software, so the battery's running right now.
Okay, well then send me your Canvas message, okay? And we'll make sure that you are near a plug or something like that. Okay, like I said, as long as we don't have like 50 students that have problems like that with plugin, we can probably accommodate. Yeah.
I'll take the test. I know we have like an outline of methods, right? And the method, it says this method should be able to do this.
like another method that's being called?
That's a very good question. So, okay, just for the recordings, the question is, can we write helper methods as we're solving some problems for the final? And the answer to that is yes. I don't see a problem why. The one thing you cannot do is if, for example, if I ask you, for example, to use a tokenizer, I will give you the tokenizer during that final exam, okay? But if I ask you to implement by hand a tokenizer, then I don't want to see like a method that just calls, a Java library tokenizer, because for that, you're going to get the minimum amount of partial credit, okay? It's like if I ask you to reverse a string, yes, we are still learning, so I'm not asking you to use the JDK, I'm asking you to show me that you understand how to write programs from scratch, okay? All right, but that's a very good question. Anything else you guys can think of? Yeah. Yes, we'll all be in the same room. That's a block exam. So both sections of the class will be actually together in the same room. We all take it at the same time. No. So if you have extra time, that's what I was mentioning. I'm glad you bring that up. If you have extra time, you need to actually work with the SAS office so that they assign you a different room and there will be a different proctor so that you can actually have the extra time there. This room, like I mentioned, in this room, we are going to be kicked out after probably half an hour after the end of the final exam by the next class that has a final exam in that room, right? So anybody, again, I'm going to repeat that to be super clear. Anybody who has SAS accommodation or any accommodation of any sort, please work with your contact at SAS and schedule your final exam right now, okay? So that they don't have a problem with locating you somewhere. If we wait the last minute, this is when we bump into issues, okay? And if you are lost or whatever, you are in doubt, just canvas message me and we'll work on it together. Another important point, if you borrow a laptop or something like that, make sure it can connect to the USF wireless. Okay, you have to connect to EduROM, USF Gold, or USF whatever, guest. Do that before the day of the exam. Come to campus with the actual laptop you're going to use. Make sure it works. Make sure it connects to the wireless. All of these are things that have caused problems in the past, and this is not the kind of problem I want you to deal with during an exam day. Yes? Hold on. Sorry. Go ahead. Yes, I'm going to get onto that on the next slide, okay, one of the next slides. But yes, it's going to be open book. Pretty much the deal is that it should feel like just one more IE. And hopefully it should not feel like IE9. It should feel like one of the good IEs, okay? All right. What is allowed during the exam? So textbook, digital or print. Somebody asked, can I bring a tablet or another computer to read my book on a different screen? No. Everything needs to go through your laptop, okay? Because your laptop is going to be proctored by Honorlock. That's how we make sure that you do not communicate with people, etc. If you bring a secondary device, phone, tablet, etc., then there's no proctoring. We would have to have a TA stand behind you the whole time, which is going to be stressing for the person that we do that to. So JGrasp or whatever IDE of your choosing is fine. If you need something to write down stuff, a Word document, an Excel document, you can open all of these, no problem, as long as they are empty. Just blank space, for you to do a trace table or something like that, absolutely no problem. You have access to the course Canvas site during the exam. More specifically, the PDF of the slides, you can access them. The coding back exercise that were assigned, you can access them. There are some live coding video, and of course, there are video recording of the lecture. I really do not recommend that you open a video during the exam just because of the sheer amount of time it takes, to find something in a video. So try to be ready before that and don't need the video. Yeah. So somebody else brought up, that's a good question. Somebody else brought up the question about can I print the slide? So we don't have any personal note allowed, okay? So I would much prefer that you actually use the digital version. If you prefer to read on paper, then send me a Canvas message, okay? We'll make an exception for everybody who wants to print out actually their slide. But what I ask of you is the day of the exam, bring your slides, no annotation on them, okay, your printed side, so that if we see an annotation, then okay, don't do it, okay? That's just the best way to go about that. So yes, if you have ideas like that, this is a very good idea. If you have ideas like that that are not reflected in the slide, ask me now so we can put it on record in the video recording, and I can make a decision, and we can enable that for everyone, so we keep everything fair for everyone. Yes.
Like during the final, like can we reference like old like programs in JGraphs, but if we forget syntax or something?
All right, so good question, because that comes all the time. That comes up all the time too. That's why I have this. Only, only thing allowed. Everything else by default is allowed, but bring it up when you're not sure, because in some case, yeah, that makes sense. You know that somebody would prefer to work on paper. I'm okay with that. Regarding the previous code example, no. I'm trying to put a finite set of resource at your disposal during the final exam. And I know it sounds counterintuitive. Some of you, most of you maybe are feeling, well, I would like to bring all the code that I wrote this semester. Or I have been studying with this website. I would like to download their code example and have them handy during the final. Here's the thing. Trust me, I've been there. I've done that. It's not my first rodeo. I see students come with like literally a gig of data at the exam. And then the whole exam turns into, archival work. Like they take the spelunking light, and they dig into the archive trying to find something that's relevant. That's not how you prepare for a final. You don't prepare for a final by hoarding more data. So let's say that this is all the data you have. You know it now, like 1 week before the final, sort of. And then you are going to prepare by actually learning the stuff. And that's what's going to get you a good grade, okay? Not having more example. And I know it may sound counterintuitive, but please trust me on that. Like I said, been there, done that. So the video, yes, accessible. So bring a headset if you are going to listen to a video, but really I don't recommend it. That's going to waste your time. Personal work only, so any form of communication, blah, 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 you know the drill. What to expect regarding the program to write. You write from scratch, you have no scaffolding, no milestone this time. Please compile all the time, okay? You write, literally, you write 3 lines of code, it's one statement, Control B, compile, okay? There's nothing worse for us and for you than to see a student submit at the final exam a piece of code that doesn't compile. We cannot do anything with that. The policy has been 0 points. 0 point is okay for an IE. I don't mind doing that because it teaches you the importance of compiling, and then we drop the worst IE. So you learn something, you get a little slap on the hand, but you don't jeopardize your course. If you do that for the final exam, that's it. Okay, it's pretty much after 1 semester, I cannot get something to compile in Java. So I don't want to see you guys fall for that trap. So make sure you compile very often, test your code, make sure it works, but at the very least, compile all the time. Okay, and if you add a line of code, it doesn't compile, reconsider that line of code. You will find a way around, I promise you. Okay, you have enough resources available to help you, textbook and stuff like that. We cover all the modules, but I told you that M10 was not going to be really the major focus of the final exam. So the worst I can do in the final exam regarding M10 is I give you code, like I give you a main method, and that main method uses 2-dimensional arrays to do the testing of the method you have to write. That's as far as it's going to go, okay? I'm not going to ask you to write code involving 2-dimensional arrays, all right? So I want you to have some familiarity with the topic, nothing more. And then remember what, it sounds stupid, it is stupid to say, but I'll just say it anyway. Remember what we learned together this semester, okay? I'm not talking about the technical detail here. I'm talking about module 1 to 3, right? Module 1 to 3, they are your lifeline. That means that if you look at a piece of code, you freak out, you say, I don't know what this code wants me to do. I don't know what this final wants me to do. You're starting looking at the window, considering jumping out, etc. Don't, okay? That's exactly what you guys have been trained to deal with during module 1, 2, and 3. You take it easy, you take it one step at a time. You read the whole thing, just to get an overview. You will feel probably a little bit overwhelmed, most of you, and then you go back in detail, you look at a small thing that you can implement one by one, okay? Take the time to do that. It's really important to control your stress during an exam that can wreck you. All right, non-compiling code, I already covered that. Uploading files to Canvas, you know the drill by now. It's not a bug anymore, it's a feature because it has been there for probably 10 years now. When you upload something to Canvas, that's it, it's locked in. So if you upload the wrong file, don't panic, again, don't freak out. You are in the room, call us, okay, we'll come and help you out. But basically, you'll do the same thing that you did during the IEs. You'll open up Canvas inbox at the end of your final after you're completely done, and you will send the file, attach the file to a message that you send to me and all the TAs. And we'll be in the room this time so we can help you out do that. So don't worry, even if there is a technical problem with Canvas not uploading your file, we will sort it out. Don't stress for that, okay? Online proctoring, so bring your ID. We are not going to take attendance. We're going to take attendance through Honolog. So you're going to have to show your face and your ID, and this is going to be recorded, and then we're going to review the logs, okay? In case of problem, you know the drill from the IEs. You get disconnected, jump back on the horse right away. Multiple attempts will be allowed just for that. So you get disconnected, you connect right back on, okay? And you resume during your final exam. If you have a major technical issue that happened one time in the last probably 5 to 10 years, that happened one time, major technical issue during the exam, call us immediately. We'll be in the room, the TAs and myself. We'll work it out on a one-per-one case basis, okay? If your laptop bursts into flame or something like that, yeah, we cannot really make policies for stuff like that, but we can try to react to it when it happens. The common rubric is there. I think it has been modified actually, so this slide is slightly out of date. The common rubric has been modified, I think, in the final. If I remember correctly, I put it on 4 points instead of 6 points because there was some redundancy here. 2 points for something and 2 points for something else that were not even listed here. So it's going to be 4 points, very easy to get. Again, I try to lighten a little bit the common rubric so that you don't deal with too much commenting. Like in the final exam, I will put an outline of the comment. You just have to put your name at the beginning and stuff like that. So I try to make it a little simpler for you and still give you some points for good habits. Okay. As far as the topics go, so let's do a dramatic pause here. Okay, this is important. Methods, string. Okay, I don't know how to be clearer than that. Strings are important. They could be potentially important for the final exam. They will be important for the final exam, okay? So make sure that you get comfortable with the string data type, all of the methods that come with it, all the exercise we did with strings, arrays of strings and stuff like that, okay? That brings, and now I really feel bad after what you said, I really feel bad about bringing that up, but that brings up also the tokenizer, the dreaded tokenizer, okay? Don't give up on that thing. We have 1 week to get you from, if you're not fully comfortable with the tokenizer, or if something went wrong, during I9, we have 1 week to get you from that point to, tokenizer. Are you kidding me? I do tokenizers in my sleep. And it's very feasible, okay? So it's very feasible. Don't give up on the tokenizer. I don't want you to have to write a tokenizer at the final exam, but I may very well ask you to use a tokenizer method like the one that we studied. You see the difference? So you have to be comfortable using that, seeing what comes out of it and stuff like that. Everything arrays, yes, very important. Arrays and string, very important. And all of the rudimentary declaration initialization of 2D arrays, yeah, that's less important. But you still need to be somewhat familiar with the topics that we covered in M10. And I try to, that doesn't mean that everything that's not on the slide is not going to be useful as an exam, but I try to kind of stream it down to the minimum that is very, very, very important, okay? So string, arrays, method, tokenizer, familiarity with just usage of 2D arrays are a little less important. All right, so there is a mock exam file, but you know what? I have better than that now. So I put the mock exam file on Canvas last week when I first released the slide. So there is a mock exam.java, mock exam helper.java. If you took a look at them already, what you saw is just a very basic file, like a hello world type of deal, but split. The program is split into Java files. We have been splitting Java, our programs into multiple Java files for a little bit now, probably 2-3 weeks, right? This is going to be the case as the exam. So as the exam, you can expect a file that's going to be called, for example, myprettyfinal.java and then myprettyfinalhelper.java. Okay? So it's going to be kind of similar organization than what you see here, but I have something better than you spending time looking at those files now. So we're going to skip this because I have actually an entire complete previous exam that I want you to work on today and next session. Okay, so this is what we're going to do in the background. So I'm going to skip the mock exam to Java because it's not that useful. I released already last week some previous final exams. So some of you I know already took a look at them. Congratulations. So these are not full exams, full final exams. These are just select questions from those final exams. So here's a select question from 2018, from 2019, from 2017. I think that was a whole exam there. But that one is really a little bit more complicated than the other two, so I would save it for the end. And what we're going to do now, we are going to stop the blah blah, stop the recording. We are going to do two things. One, I'm going to point you on Canvas to the files that are uploaded this weekend that are like the 2020, I think, final exam for this class. And this is a complete final exam. So it's going to give you an idea of, the length, duration, scope, etc., difficulty. There are variations in the difficulty from year to year. Cannot help it. That's the nature of the beast, okay? But at least it's one more thing to help you prepare. What I suggest you do is whether you have worked on those questions, exam question or not before, open this one up today. Start reading the comments in the .java files, okay? So they are uploaded in our review, final exam review module in Canvas. Download them, open them up, start reading what is asked of you, and I will circulate the room and answer your question about that assignment. The format with which the details are given to you in the file as comments on what you have to do, they are really, really the kind of stuff you're going to get as a final exam. So get used to it. Use that exercise to get used to it, okay? And then for those of you, well, nobody should have already completed that one. So this is going to be kind of the background, default task that I expect you all to be working on during this session and the next session. As you work on it and ask questions, I'm going to also circulate the room. Don't hesitate to call me if you have any question about anything. So I'm going to fill, Q&As as others are working on that last preparation for the final exam. The deal is, this is the last chance we have for me and the TAs during office hours to address any last minute concern, etc., any last minute misunderstanding that you have about the study material. So make sure to use it, okay? And more importantly, tell me what you need. I need to understand what you need me to go over during this week with you so we can make the most out of this last week. Okay? All right. Any question that you can think of for the logistic of the final exam? So what I would expect by now is you are clear on the format. It's not going to be a surprise. You kind of have an idea of how difficult it will be. And if I9 has served any purpose, maybe it's just to show you how nasty that could get. But the point is not to make those final exam and IEs nasty, okay? The point is to make them like an average IE that you have had this semester. Talking of which, let's discuss a little bit about I9. So I already got feedback from, I would say, like anywhere between three and five students by Canvas message. I'm still working on processing my Canvas message backlog. Sorry about that. But I heard that I9 went pretty catastrophically. So how many in this room would say this I9 is going to be probably the one that Canvas is going to drop out of all my IEs? Holy shit. Okay. Well, that went well. Okay. So here's the deal. Here's the plan when things like that happen. Okay. First thing, I need data. So this is already data, but I need to see like the whole statistical distribution of grade for the class. So the TAs are working on grading that. Unfortunately, they are not going to be done probably until Wednesday, Thursday at the earliest. Okay, there's a lot of other things that we need to do with the TAs during the last week of class. However, I can tell you that as soon as I get the grades, I'm going to look at the distribution. Based on what I see here in the classroom, the distribution is going to be completely skewed toward the lower grade, okay? When that happens, that generally reflects that there was a problem with the exam. So I will take some step to mitigate that, okay? I haven't decided what step yet because I haven't seen the extent of the damage. If I see that the best grade in the class is a D, for example, yeah, that's not even called curving anymore, okay? So I'm going to look into it, okay? I want to kind of remove that from your stressors for the week. Don't worry, when this is a catastrophe like that, I actually take responsibility and try to mitigate. Do you have to expect the same thing for the final exam? No, that's really not the point. I9 was not meant to be like a killer intermediary exam either. Okay, so the idea is that we always try to balance out the exam so that they are an average difficulty. Sometime I fail. Okay, when this is happening, the grade distribution shows it clearly to me. Okay, if I have only 5 students that tell me, your exam was really, really, really too hard, well, I can empathize, but I cannot really do much. When it's like a shift in the bell curve, for example, for the grade or something like that, then definitely I can take action on that, and I do systematically. So it's not my default policy to curve or do things like that, but when there is data suggesting problems like these of that magnitude, yes, I do something. Okay. All right. So now don't go and get like a conspiracy going on to all get zero as a final exam, hoping that because I can do things on the IEs that I cannot do on the final exam. Okay, so even if you try, that will not work. All right, I'm going to stop the recording for now. We are done with the last of the blah blah, and let's get started with that 2020 final exam. It's on Canvas. Download it, and I will help you through it.